guys. Welcome back to another exciting episode on the show, Control or Be Controlled, a podcast designed to help you start thinking differently and take control of your life. And I remain your host, Darlington. Today's guest is Elias, a history enthusiast, researcher, and podcast host focused on understanding the forces shaping modern society. As a native New Yorker with a deep interest in history, politics, technology, and current events, Elias explores the roots of America's growing tribalism, political division, and the challenges of understanding people with different perspectives. Elias, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Darlington, for the invite. Thank you for inviting me. I'm willing to go with the flow. Whatever questions you have that your audience wants to know, I'm here to answer them. Because if I start, I could talk for a long time. So I want to control myself and just go with the flow.
All right, thank you for that because I was almost going to give you the platform. But okay, let's get into the questions I have for you. Okay, so your interest in history seems to be at the center of everything that you do. What first sparked your curiosity about history, and why has it remained such an important part of how you understand the world?
That is such a good question. Yeah, history is a big part of is a big center on how it forms my beliefs or how I think of things. I got into it since I was, I'll say, 12 years old. I was always wondered how people lived in the past, how people was able to live without internet and basic conveniences that most people in today take for granted. That's what really got me curious. And I'm not sure if I heard your other question. I think it broke off a little bit. Yeah, and in history, the only thing I'm going to say for history is that we have many lessons that's been recorded, and and the weird part to me is that we humans we just tend not to learn some of those lessons, and I'm trying to do my part to prevent a second civil war that happened in America. America was very divided under the issue of slavery at that time, and it caused massive division, fighting, even a lot of people dying. I don't want that to happen again. So that's what really sparked me into doing this. And any other thing about but by the root of this tribalism, it seems to be more personal, more politically ideological driven. Because before, two people from different political parties was able to debate and then get along and not take it as personal. Passion is okay, but now it's, if you don't agree with me, you're the enemy. I mean, traditional media try to drive a fear in some of that division, but social media is really making it worse. And I'm just going to end it right there to see if you have any follow-up questions, because I could dive into each one depending on you and your audience interests.
Your question. So, moving on, when you look at current events, how does studying history help you see patterns that others might miss?
That's a very good question. I tend to think of things of big picture and patterns. And just like what I said about the Civil War, I don't want that to happen again. And some people are missing this. Some people think I'm being dramatic. But if we don't get disagreement is fine. That's not the issue. The issue is how we disagree is the problem. Because if, for example, I'm sure, Darlington and you and I are going to have some disagreements, right? We are different people, we are different people, and that's okay. But how we go about disagreement is to just say, oh, I don't know if you're seeing it this way, or I don't think you've thought about this issue as clear because, what about if this happened? But instead, we got, you with the enemy, you're bad, you're stupid. That's what we are dealing with. I gotta say, America is making some progress on that, and we are trying to prevent another civil war. And I think some people will miss that, and we have been split as a country before. There are states that that left the United States, especially those in the South, because they wanted to maintain slavery, because slavery was such a big money maker over there. So we try to, so I'm trying to prevent that from happening again. We could disagree and come on with the best solutions to help the most people instead of scoring points for your team while everybody else gets screwed. That's what I'm trying to do, at least. And I always go to some past examples when it comes to another issue we got is American companies are too big and too powerful, and they haven't been stopped. Well, big companies have been stopped before. If you go back to Theodore Roosevelt, there is a lesson, there is an answer, but most people are being bought off by corporations or at least being heavily influenced by it. So, and now there's attorney general offices that have been suing Google multiple times because of their dominance and their shady practices and not, promoting fair competition. So, some people will miss things like that because they're just thinking about now, and some people are just acting like this is a new thing. But a lot of these are patterns from the past. One we have dealt with and the one that we're dealing with, but we haven't come up with a big solution just to try to divide companies. Everything companies are getting bigger and bigger, and smaller companies are getting eaten up by bigger companies, and big companies are merging together just to fit the bill that's getting more expensive. So the good debate could be, when is business too big to fail? That's one thing of I'm looking at it. And we did have big business in the past, the steel of the Andrew Carnegie and John Rockefeller. Those were big business people back then. We have big business now. Google, Tesla, by Elon Musk. So those are the patterns I see that a lot of people would miss.
Okay, thank you so much, Elias. So, how did America's two-party system evolve into what we see today? And what do you believe are some of the biggest challenges created by that same two-party system?
How it evolved to it? Oh, that's a really long story. And I'm gonna try to be quick about it. How it evolved to I mean, that's just how it was formed, because just to start from the very beginning, and the very first president of this country, George Washington, was against political parties because he knew these things would pop up. We're not growing as quick. We're just playing back and forth. Okay, Democrats take control. You get a little bit of Democrat victory. The Republicans come. The Republicans disrupt that, and now it's Republicans getting the point. So it's a seesaw effect. You go up, down, up, down, up, down, depending what team you're in. I'm independent. I think both of them are bad, um, but the difficulty that they bring, well, actually, let me continue for their origin, because it was more about, I want to support the big government, and the other one's more about supporting the crown indirectly through the Federalists, and then it was Democrat Republican. It used to be one party, believe it or not. And then of course that split. And this is some people are saying this is the seventh big change of political parties that's happening right now. And some could thank Donald Trump for that one, because MAGA is moving the Republicans in a certain direction, and then for the other side, for the Democrats, now we have a more socialists popping up to the race, and we're winning some of those races. So there's this change going on in politics right now. How we got to it is these political parties, they stay alive as long as they're relevant and answering a call to certain people. Once no one likes a political party, and it has happened before, like the Whig Party, they fall apart. They die off. And eventually another party takes over. So that's one of the changes. One of the many changes, and there's several more. But to fast forward to today, because that's what I'm more focused on. We have the MAGA, and now we have the DSA, Democrat Socialists of America. MAGA, for those who haven't been paying attention, is Make America Great Again party. Well, they're not a party, but they're just an offshoot of the Republican Party that believes in strict borders, definitely not fiscal conservatism. That's the thing I used to like about the Republican Party. And modern Democrats still follow that philosophy, but and the challenge is you can't get new ideas because that's to go through the two parties, and if both parties hate it, it's going to shut down. A good example would be the candidate who was promoting universal basic income. Both parties laughed at the idea, even though one candidate brought it up. And it wasn't brought up again because it didn't get enough traction. Got traction to people, but both party leaders, Democrat, Republican, rejected the idea or let it die silently. That's a challenge having two parties. One of the parties have to be at least receptive or agree with the idea. If you have both of them disagreeing with it, and then nothing's going to go through. And a lot of them believe you have to pick a team. And that's why meaningful change is very difficult in America. See, in a lot of European countries, and even Israel, they have they have a parliament, and they have groups of small little parties, right? They got the right wingers got 5 parties, the left got their own 5 parties, but they all had to gather together just to vote as a unit. In America, it's just Democrat, Republican, add just a little bit of independence. That's it. And those are your only 2 parties. And that's why hardly anything gets done. That's why meaningful change is very difficult. Because we have 2 parties. Like I said, if it gets rejected by both parties, it's not going anywhere. A major political party has to be at least receptive to the idea if you want a chance, if you want that policy or that political ideology to live. Because if both parties are not supporting it, if both parties reject it, then it's going nowhere.
Okay. So how would you describe your current political perspective? And how has your understanding of politics changed over time?
Well, let me start with a little personal story of mine. I switched political parties multiple times. I started off as a very moderate Democrat who agreed with Republicans on certain issues. I started off there, and I agree with them with the military and even fiscal conservatism. The moderate Democrats agree with that part too. I started off there. So, okay, the Democrat Party seems to be good for me. They support minorities. They support people. Fine. I was there for 6 years. Until I started noticing a shift in the party, and parties do change. They start promoting more of this woke ideology. Well, not politicians in general, but they do support the advocacy organizations that support that. And I started to jump ship because I didn't agree with the changes of the Democrat Party. So I left there. I became a Republican, a moderate Republican, for 2 years until Donald Trump became the nominee for president, which I thought I was crazy, but you know what? Crazy things do happen. Just to say that, I had to learn to become an independent, I had to learn how both of these parties work, right? I was learning first how the Democrat Party works, what they believe in, what is their platform. They start promoting certain stuff that I didn't agree with. And I eventually left that party. I think the party was moving in a direction that I didn't agree with. Then I became a Republican. And then after 2 years, I started not liking where it's going. And then I became an independent, and I've been an independent since 2016. Because I personally think both parties are bad. Both parties are not really answering to the people. But you know what? This is why change is happening, because they're not really answering to me. Democrats, socialists are winning races, and some MAGA. Make America Great Again offshoot the Republican Party. They're winning races because people want change. What kind of change? Well, it depends where people vote and where interests, where corporate interests or all the politicians want people to vote. Those are changes that are happening. And me, I believe in balance. We need balance because there's some good things the Democrats are doing. There are some good things the Republicans are doing. When it comes to individual freedom in general, I think the Republican Party is better. But when it comes to benefits and social issues, I think Democrats are better. So I think they both got their strengths, their weaknesses, and there's just times I think both parties are bad. Like when it comes to immigration and freedom of speech, both parties are bad. I don't agree with either party, and there has to be a better response to that, because I just think they both failed on those issues. Like for immigrants, yeah, I want immigrants to come, but I also want protection against bad immigrants. I mean, by those are the ones that are going to cause violence and steal and cause fraud. Those who commit crime, which most immigrants do not do that. Let me just be clear, most of them don't do that. I protect us for those and let the immigrants who want to come here be hardworking, contribute to America. Let them come in. And make it easier for them to come, because it's very hard for immigrants to come in, especially those who are doing it the right way. It should be easier for those who are doing it the right way than those who unfortunately cross over the border. Those who cross over the border, find out why. Guide them through and let them come back. Make it easier for them, because maybe they want to escape from the hell that they came from. So we should be helping those people out as well. So that's the reason why I don't agree with both parties on that. And the freedom of issue, let's be real quick. Every time when a party gets in power, they silence and try to cancel the other party through legal means, through legal ways. And both parties don't do a good job of that. Some of them do the back door, the sneaky way, and some of them do it more in public. Both parties are not very good when it comes to freedom of speech, and none of them should try to advocate, I am for freedom of speech. No, you're not, because you try to cancel. You try to silence the other side, and that's not what freedom of speech is about. It's learning how to hear opinions that you don't like, that you're not comfortable with. So that's my thinking. This is how I think. This is why I think differently and weird compared to a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans just pick Democrat, Republican because it's just easy. And some people only care about one issue. If they care about women's right to choose, to give life or not, then Democrat Party is good for you. If you care about gun rights, that's the Republican Party. Some people only care about one, so that's easy for them to pick a side. But for me, I think balance is needed. So that's why I am an independent at the end of the day.
Right. Thank you so much, Elias. So, looking ahead, what are your predictions for 2026? We are in 2026 already. So, do you have any predictions for this year or for next year? The political, social, or AI or technological trends that we should be paying attention to?
Well, there's one trend that's not as technological. I want to start with that because I feel like I talk way too much about the politics. For technology, I see that professors are getting smarter, catching students cheating with AI, and that's already been happening. I already kind of predicted that happening. And instead of just banning AI altogether, some of them are just say, okay, we're going to allow AI, but we got tools to catch them. Fine. Because we want students to think. We want students to try right. We want students, to use their brain. Don't let AI become your brain. That's my concern with AI, that some students are just so dependent on AI. They don't know how to write. They don't know how to think critically. And there's this one very smart professor. He caught students cheating. The 90% of his students cheating. You know what he did caught AI? He put, I think it was a political assignment, right? But he added one question sneakingly because he knows a lot of students were going to copy and paste. They put it in invisible text. So that means they couldn't see it even if they copied and paste. Invisible text that, he put a question about Madagascar. And this is how he busts a lot of students. A lot of them just copy and paste, and the AI generated responses. It was generating political responses. Some made sense, some didn't. But it was also answering the Madagascar question. And since he saw the students' work, and he saw that most of them had Madagascar in their papers, he failed 32 out of 35 students. In other words, only 3 students passed. Because students was using AI as a shortcut and being lazy with it. You see, when you use AI, still use your brain. Because you want to make sure your request is clear and it makes sense. But what these students is copy and paste it blindly. And what a professor and the students just submitted a paper to the professor without even trying to read it, correct it, and make it make sense. They didn't proofread their own work. So that's why a lot of them got busted and they failed for using AI.
All right.
So
thank you. Yeah, go on. You say when you use AI, please use your head. That was funny.
yeah, so the professor was very smart catching these students using AI. AI is a good tool, though. AI is a very good tool. It's just that you still got to use your brain. And you still got to check if the AI is answering your question well. Because, for example, when I typed in the school's name in the deadline, I'm looking for bill payment deadlines because I work in one of the day jobs that has something to do with education. Long story short, I copy and paste, right? I copy and paste the thing. And after that, I check the answer. And sometimes the AI didn't know what it was talking about. Just say, it doesn't give a uniform deadline. Fine. I had to think outside the box. I checked when the class started, and I started putting that as the deadline for the answers. Okay, this is when the class starts, when most schools want their payment. For example, and I'm not going to say the name of the school A, classes start at their fall classes at September 1st. I put August 30th as their answer because that's, because once the class starts, most schools will want their money back, or unless they sign up for a payment plan to pay it little by little by little by little. So that's how the professor was able to catch these students again for just using AI lazily, using it as a cheat sheet. No, the AI can help you, but you also gotta add prompts and commands that are clear and make sure the answer you're getting is good, and check the source where the AI is getting that answer from. Because, for example, let me just do something silly. I want, so what's the biggest elephant in the world? And then the AI all of a sudden said it's the great blue whale. Then my reaction is, what? That's not correct. That's a whale, not an elephant. So my point is, you got to be aware how you're using the AI tools and just make sure that the answer makes sense and is coming from a good source. So those are the recent AI trends that's been happening. And tech companies are rehiring a lot of people back because they realize they fired way too many people that knew how to use AI. And those who are not using AI and those who are using AI, they found out that productivity is not going up by a lot, especially companies that don't know how to use AI. You got to have the right people using AI. You can't just have AI replace people. So companies are paying the price for that as well. And I say good for them because they've been too greedy. Those tech companies, they've been greedy. So I'm happy that they are paying the price for that. I hope they learn. I hope they don't make that same mistake again. And actually, when you lay off people, just make sure that you have that taken care of. Don't just lay off people just because you thought AI was going to be this magic bullet to solve all your problems. Well, you need people with expertise that know how to use AI to make your life easier. So just firing a bunch of people. And some of those people that were fired, they know how to use AI. So companies make big mistakes on that. So that's a trend that's going on with AI. And then that's the answer to that part. I'm just gonna I feel like I'm going long-winded here. For the political part, I do got some predictions. The Democrats will take the House because it's under Republican control right now. Maybe by 4 or 5 seats. I think the Democrats will win. So that's a very small majority. And the Senate, I could be a little wrong here, but I think the Democrats have a chance to take a Senate, but it's going to probably be a 1-seat majority. And that means Donald Trump is not going to be able to have a lot of laws passed that he wants because the Democrats are against Donald Trump. That's my prediction for the 2026 midterms.
Okay. Thank you so much, Elias. Thank you. This has been a very wonderful episode. Thank you for sharing with us your perspective and reminding us of the importance of curiosity, research, and understanding history when navigating the challenges of today's world. So for those that would like to connect with you and learn more about your work, how can they do that?
Well, they can go to my YouTube, my Facebook, go to Apple Podcasts, and Rumble. Those are the sites I mainly use, and you can follow me and see what other work I do. I look forward to your listenership. And of course, all those that are listening. I accept global audiences. And my podcast does cover global issues as well, not just American issues, because I like to know what's going on around the world too.
Right, Elias, thank you so much. And thanks to all my audience as well for tuning in. You guys are the reason why we are able to do this. Thank you, Elias, and have a wonderful day ahead.
All right, you too. Have a good day.
Don't forget to mark episode as complete and leave me a review about the show on Podmatch.